assuming that with the two myth trilogies, if not the witches as well, you've had to do a great deal of research. You need to make sure that you are honoring some version of those characters and that you're not going to get trolled online. So if you're creating something out of whole cloth, does that mean goodbye research time, hello more time to draft and follow my heart's content, or are you researching all new subjects?
I think that's a great question. You know, I think that the research is a huge part of it, and especially with mythology. When I was just writing, when I just finished the last Greek book, the sequel, the Medusa Quest, dear Lord, the amount of research that goes into just finding some obscure, you want to try to find some obscure pieces of mythology. And the thing about mythology is there's 4 different versions, right? I mean, you don't, there's not just one accounting of mythology. There's, especially in Greek mythology, there's so many different people that told the stories that one version may say this and another version may say this, you know, and it's really trying to find a source that you can really decide on. It's okay, this is going to be my source, and this is going to be the mythology that I follow along, and these are the rules I'm going to break. Like, for example, my story, Hercules and Perseus, you know, are in the same story. Well, theoretically, Perseus was like a great-grandfather of Hercules, so they wouldn't have been around at the same time, but you got to bend the rules sometimes because it's important that my characters sort of play the role they need to play within the story, and this is mythology. So, and I kind of say a note to my readers, hey, by the way, I kind of get that, don't troll me. I get that they're not necessarily at the same time, but we're just playing with mythology. We're just having fun. So just let me have some fun with this, you know, without really breaking the rules and saying, well, Hercules was not super strong or something. You know, you can't just make them something different. Okay, but you can play with timelines. I think that's my rule anyway. So yeah, absolutely. I have stacks and stacks of books in my office, and they're all thumb noted and highlighted and underlined and sticky notes of all the different things in mythology that you need to sort of have as inventory, right? So that when you're writing the story, you have something to call on. And the example I always use with kids is in the Red Sun, there's a scene where my character is battling a giant squid monster thing, and he loses his spear, of course, as we tend to do when we're being attacked by a giant squid monster, you know, and I think to myself, well, wouldn't it be really nice if he had a magic spear right now, right? And I think, oh my goodness, I remember, and maybe you know this, Rob, in Norse mythology, I had read about a magic spear called the Gungnir spear, you know, and you call it and it will come. And I'm like, and I run back a few chapters and I find a way for foresight out of justice to give it to him, and then go forward. And now when he sits there, he goes, well, I don't think this is going to work, but okay, I'll try it. Gungnir, and all of a sudden the spear appears in his hand and boom! Giant squid handled, you know, and then later he destroys the spear accidentally and it gets into all kinds of trouble. So those are a lot of fun when you have those kinds of things. Now, when you're creating your absolute own world, the thing about world building is you have to really understand how world building works, and there has to be rules. It can't just be, well, I need this to happen, so Twinkle knows this magical thing happens, right? There's rules of magic. There's a price of using magic. Usually there's a cost to you somehow. Magic is draining. It doesn't just come free willy-nilly. There's a limit on how much magic you can have versus me, or else we would all just magic everything into being. And so, you know, the fun part about it, though, is that you get to really build a world that you want and with characters that you want. And I wrote the whole story. This book is, the world is called Pandora. It's kind of Pandora, but Pandora, I don't know, it's kind of a cool little world. And I wrote the whole thing in first person. I love my character. His name is Farty Barty. And, you know, I kind of written it, and then it was just missing something. You know, it was just like, you know, as an author when something, and I've been working on this off and on for a couple of years, you know when something's missing. And I've gone back and now I've changed the story and made it into sort of a present time, past time, where a girl in the present is discovering the journal, you know, and reading about his adventures in this magical realm, and eventually, you know, they're gonna cross paths. So it's a funny thing about writing, because you just, sometimes you think you've nailed it, and then you just kind of go, well, this isn't the book I want to release. So I've gone back and challenged myself to really make it into something, you know, that's really going to be groundbreaking and really going to get kids excited, you know, get excited about reading. So there you go.